Have you ever gazed into the mirror of your past, where regrets whisper like autumn leaves rustling underfoot, carrying the bitter taste of missed chances and the chill of unspoken fears, much like Hamlet pondering his father's ghost on the battlements, or a weary soldier recounting scars from Gettysburg's fields? Let this grieving soul retire. Episode 14 delves into that labyrinth of memory and identity, where the scent of rain-soaked streets mingles with the faint echo of youthful cries, the touch of a savior's hand lingering like a phantom warmth against the cold grip of despair. Aired on October 6, 2025, as the opener to the series' second cour, picking up after the auction arc's tense resolutions. This episode shifts gears into introspective depths, bridging past traumas to future burdens in the ongoing saga of treasure hunters bound by unbreakable, yet burdensome, ties. I personally was struck by its haunting allure, a narrative that drapes you in the fog of nostalgia without parting the mists entirely, leaving you to feel the damp cobblestones under your feet, the distant clamor of a capital's underbelly rising like a symphony of secrets. But what if one recollection could redefine sacrifice? Don't you yearn to uncover how a single encounter ignites a lifetime of reluctant heroism, pulling you inexorably into the shadows to seek your own answers? Episode 14 unfolds as a poignant interlude, centering on Tino Shade as she weaves a tale from 5 years prior, her voice a thread pulling us back to her arrival in the imperial capital, vulnerable and ensnared in peril akin to Oliver Twist navigating London's treacherous alleys, only to be rescued by the enigmatic Grieving Souls. Building on the previous episode's auction climax, where Kry's debts and relic pursuits left the clan teetering on new horizons, this installment transitions by delving into backstory, illuminating how youthful encounters forge enduring loyalties amid the world's phantom threats. Imagine yourself in that dimly lit tavern, the smoky haze thick in your throat, laughter masking underlying tension as stories unfold like pages from a forgotten diary, hinting at motivations that propel the party forward. Yet, what unseen scars does this revelation conceal? The episode dangles that enigma, heart-stirring with curiosity, compelling you to witness if memories are chains or keys to liberation. Episode 14 masterfully advances the narrative by pivoting to a flashback structure, enriching the main arc of Kry's retirement quest with foundational revelations about Tino's integration into the Grieving Souls, culminating in a subtle cliffhanger that teases impending gatherings of elite hunters. Key twists emerge in the details of her rescue, underscoring the party's early prowess and setting up future conflicts, while pacing adopts a deliberate, reflective tempo, slow building like a gathering storm, balanced by interspersed action glimpses that prevent stagnation. Dramatic equilibrium is achieved through alternating quiet narration with vivid recollections, mirroring the series' blend of introspection and adventure. Fans frequently query cloudy aspects such as the contrived nature of Tino's peril and escape. Why does her vulnerability feel like a narrative convenience, evoking critiques of untouched innocence in dire circumstances? Drawing from the light novel Volume 4, this ambiguity is intentional. Tino's encounter serves as an epilogue to Volume 3's events, emphasizing the Grieving Soul's godlike intervention to highlight Kry's reluctant leadership and the clan's mythic status, where her salvation without deeper harm underscores themes of fate's whimsy rather than realism, providing context that her naivety fuels her growth into a level 4 thief, transforming the animated segment from mere filler to a pivotal bridge toward vacation arcs and hunter assemblies. This well-researched layer elevates the episode, turning perceived plot holes into deliberate echoes of the source's whimsical tone. Tino Shade blooms with emotional depth, her hidden wounds, a blend of orphan-like isolation and awestruck admiration, motivating a narrative of growth from wide-eyed newcomer to devoted apprentice, her choices in recounting the past consistent yet transformative, revealing a core resilience that surprises in its quiet intensity. Cry Andre, glimpsed through her lens, unveils psychological layers of burdened foresight, his motivations rooted in aversion to glory echoing hidden pains of overpowered companionship. The Grieving Souls, Liz, Citri, and others, emerge as larger-than-life saviors, their dialogues surprising in blending ferocity with tenderness. Were these evolutions consistent? Absolutely, yet they surprise in how Tino's perspective humanizes the party's mythic aura, fostering growth that feels earned. Like seeds sprouting from cracked earth, profound questions arise. What if survival demands sacrificing one's peace to shadows of the past, akin to Sisyphus eternally pushing his boulder, where hope battles despair in every recollection? Morality manifests in the Grieving Soul's interventions, questioning power's ethical wield. Does saving one soul justify the chaos left in their wake? Sacrifice pulses through Tino's story, her choice is a mirror to Kry's eternal deferral of retirement, embodying hope's flicker amid despair's void, much like Viktor Frankl's search for meaning in suffering. These themes weave into struggles, pulling you to reflect. Haven't you clung to memories that both wound and heal. Teetering on the edge of revelation, new lore surfaces in the Imperial capital's underbelly, revealing cultural rules of hunter hierarchies and phantom vulnerabilities, enriching the universe with historical depth. 5 years ago's events complicate current alliances, adding layers of prejudice and opportunity without overwhelming the intimate focus. The script gleams with poetic restraint, sharp as a relic's edge. Lines like awestruck tributes to the party's godlike feats carry the weight of ancient epics, foreshadowing arcs while resonating like whispers in a confessional booth. Impactful and cliché-free, dialogues evoke the raw emotion of Chaucer's tales shared by fireside, as if you're huddled in that tavern, the words vibrating with sincerity. Doesn't their cadence ignite a suspense that beckons you deeper? Animation from Zero G captivates with fluid transitions between present and past, art direction layering sepia tones for flashbacks against vibrant present-day hues, where lighting casts elongated shadows symbolizing lingering regrets, not mere aesthetics, but a visual poetry of temporal burdens that tugs at the soul. Symbolism thrives in stillness during recollections versus dynamic movement in rescues, shaping emotional weight. Direction employs intimate camera angles, close-ups on Tino's eyes mirroring internal storms like in Citizen Kane's reflective gazes, with compositions framing saviors in heroic silhouettes, editing rhythms ebbing like a storyteller's pause to amplify tension. The soundtrack haunts as a melancholic companion, motifs of soft strings elevating nostalgic highs, crescendos etching rescue intensity into memory, while silences and revelations roar louder than phantoms. Voice acting stands out. Fairuz AI's Tino delivers with tremulous timbre, embodying a soul's fragile wonder. Kensho Ono's cry infuses subtle intensity, his voice a velvet anchor grounding the ethereal. This episode stirred a profound melancholy in me, sparking wonder at bonds forged in fire while leaving scars of what-ifs, like revisiting a childhood home shadowed by loss. Pivotal moments collide as memories and destinies entwine, a breaking point where innocence fractures into devotion, shifting paradigms irrevocably, reminiscent of the epiphany in The Great Gatsby's Green Light Pursuit. It connects to universal echoes. How do we reconcile past despairs with hopeful futures, like bridges over Hemingway's troubled waters? I felt the rain-slicked streets under my soles, the echo of a timely cry in my ears, carrying Tino's burdens as my own. Reader, haven't you tasted that nostalgic ache, scars of formative encounters begging exploration, employing reverse reading, potential flaws like the episode's flashback-heavy opacity, mirroring fan qualms over contrived escapes, reframe as deliberate choices, echoing the source's whimsical interludes to deepen thematic resonance on fate's ironies. Pacing might feel languid, but it serves introspective balance. Complexity in lore hints could confuse, yet invites rewatches. I didn't like occasional static frames in narration, but they underscore memory's haze. Balanced, the episode's emotional core triumphs over minor narrative conveniences. Episode 14 excels in thematic introspection, character nuance, and atmospheric artistry, though flashback contrivances slightly mar its flow, succeeding brilliantly as a narrative pivot, blending retrospection with forward momentum. I anticipate its ripples echoing through hunter gatherings like unfolding scrolls. But as memories fade into Twilight's embrace, can you resist delving into Tino's gaze, feeling the pull of your own untold stories? Watching isn't a mere diversion, it's the inevitable whisper of your grieving soul, urging you toward retirement's elusive horizon. Have you ever savored the bitter brew of a plan unraveled? Not the sharp tang of failure, but the slow simmer of schemes that spiral into chaos, tasting of scorched coffee and regret on your tongue, as the chill of unintended consequences seeps into your bones like fog rolling through a forsaken guild hall? Or felt the phantom weight of a relic in your palm, its surface slick with the sweat of evasion, where each dodge duty echoes the hollow clang of a bell tolling for the burdens borne by others, urging you to question if identity's true forge lies not in ambitions and vil, but in the quiet corrosion of complacency? In Let This Grieving Soul Retire, Episode 15, At This Rate, I'd Rather Be Somewhere Else, aired October 11, 2025, this exquisite evasion erupts within the series' escalating arc of reluctant heroism, bridging the Akashic Tower aftermath from prior episodes into a vacation veneer that veils brewing bedlam, much like the ill-fated respites of Odysseus in Homeric Odysseys, where brief harbors harbored horrors unforeseen, or the doomed diversions of soldiers in Hemingway's war-torn taverns, sipping solace before the storm's resurgence. Nestled in the dance of the White Blade's prelude, it grapples with hope's haphazard hand against despair's deliberate design. I emerged ensnared by its sly spark, the episode's intrigue a smoldering fuse, humorous in its hapless hijinks, yet laced with a latent blaze that beckons like unanswered alarms in a sleeping city. Can you hear it, that muffled murmur of masks and mayhem in a dimly lit guild chamber, the faint metallic scent of relics cutting through the musty air like the whispered warnings in ancient ancient Roman forums? The screen doesn't detonate the drama, it draws the detonator, each unheeded hint a hook. What hidden havoc might your own hesitations harbor if left to linger? From the lingering embers of episode 14's relic remnants, Cry Andre's clan grappling with the fallout of forgotten foes amid Tino's tenacious trials. This installment ignites a chain of chance encounters, where a new artifact acquisition spirals into assignments that scorch the status quo. Cry, ever the architect of avoidance, deploys diversions to duck direct duties, his vacation veneer veiling ventures that entangle allies in escalating entanglements, while Tino's cursed caper cascades into comedic carnage, her unfiltered fury a flashpoint for familial frictions. Guild machinations and monster mentions murmur in the margins, transitioning the arc from isolated incidents to interconnected infernos, each evasion an echo of the reluctant retreats in the Odysseus Island interludes, where brief respites breed beasts unforeseen. Picture yourself in Cry's cloaked guise, the sharp sting of a relic's illusion piercing your senses as clan cries clash like the rallying roars in medieval melees. Does the dread of duty's demand dampen your dodge, or does its absurdity summon a defiant detour? The narrative notches its nuances nimbly, each measure a murmur of the mayhem masked. What veiled vendettas might the next venture unveil? Episode 15 hammers the narrative with the heat of a hidden forge, advancing Cry's saga from post-tower torpor to pre-cataclysm chaos, revelations of relic replacements, a chibi-creating contraption that conjures comedic cover, erupting into a twist of task delegation, where Cry's offhand order to a volatile guild ignites a city-shaking skirmish, teetering on a cliffhanger of vacation veiled in veiled vendettas. Pacing pounds with purposeful poise, languid lulls of lazy lounging yielding to lively leaps of lunacy, balancing dramatic depth like the measured mallets in Vulcan's mythic smithy, introspective ingots amplifying the ensemble's eventual eruption. Equilibrium endures, though fans fret over cloudy aspects. The war's whirlwind onset, deliberate dodge or deus ex machina. Tino's mask mishap, a frenzy that flares without full foundation. Cry's quota quandary, a quota that quirks without clear quantification. Drawn from Light Novel Volume 3, Chapters 1-2, Tsukikage serialized saga, with manga by Chico amplifying action arcs in Comic Valkyrie. These hazes hammer as narrative nexuses. The conflict's catalyst, detailed in Volume 3's digressions as Cry's thousand tricks trope, author notes emphasize inadvertent ingenuity, his laziness launching labyrinthine plots like a Rube Goldberg of reluctance, clarifying confusion as creed of comedic cascade. Tino's turmoil, expounded in Chapter 2's asides as emblematic of emotional exposure, her cursed candor a counterpoint to clan dynamics, enriching the real with relational rhythms. The quota's quirk, inferred in interstitial inks, underscores hunter hierarchies. Cry's evasion a evasion of elite obligations, transforming opacity into operatic overture. This progression doesn't plod, it propels, priming perils as plots pyre. The forge's flare with fervent filigree, psyches pounded like pliable steel under Smith's strikes. Cry anchors as the episode's unwitting whirlwind, his veiled vulnerability the vice of verbal voids, laziness's legacy a lattice of lost confidences. Motivations meshed with metal's moxie masking marginalization's malaise, choices, deploying diversions and delegations, dodging duties with deceptive deftness, consistent in their cautious charisma yet transformative, surprising in a shimmer of subconscious strategy that shatters his slacker shell, evoking the emergent evolutions of Bilbo Baggins. In Tolkien's Treasure Trails, where reluctance reveals resilient resolve, Tino tumbles as traumatized touchstone, her hidden hunger for harmony beneath the hype, growth glimpsed in guiding gestures that ground her gusto. The smart sisters sizzle as sinister siblings, their encouragements an elixir of empathy laced with enmity. Consistent as forged fates, transformative? In the Anvil's arc, yes, evolution etched in every extension embraced. The episode excavates evasion's elastic enigma, potency's provisional pivot in perseverance, where ethics elasticizes in the embrace of equity, ablation the oblique offering of oblivion for the oracle of otherness unveiled. Past placards, these pulses proliferate via pursuits. Cry's quota a philosophical pivot on presence's potency, incarnating in Tino's turmoil, fortune's fragments as filial fortitude, a subsistence signal echoing Epictetus' stoic strides or the sacrificial smithies in the sword in the stone as Arthurian anvils. Does aspiration's anvil armor the anima, or does despondency's denial delineate the divide? Guild gates probe the precipice. Meritocracy as mantle, determination's a dance of divergence reclaimed amid destiny's decree. Mythos multiplies meticulously, the guild's gated grandeur. Classes as cosmic currency, jobless as jettison jetsam, embellishes the expanse with edicts of echoed existence, where divine dispensations twine with terrestrial toils, convoluting the chronicle with convergences of culture and crisis, history's heroic hierarchies haunting the hyperreal hamlets. Tsukikage's tapestry, adapted with ardor's artistry. mystery, lacerates like a latent lance, incisive as an inset icon, lyrical in its laconic lilt, transfiguring trope into trenchant toasts. Cries quips quiver with quiet quirk, presaging partitions that pulse post-pull like the poignant pleas in the Count of Monte Cristo's vengeful vows. Tino's tirades, yoked with yokel yowls, reverberate with the roar of renegade refrains. Potent, pervasive, each locution a lure of legacy and levity, legating you to the lore. Catch the smart sister's sinister snipes snap like sibling salvos in Shakespeare's courtly comedies. Does it hone your heart, this oratorical oscillation? The lexicon doesn't lecture. It lures, each lacuna a lure to the legend lurking. Zerogeus palate pulses with poignant precision. Fluid flurries of fumbling falls, forms flickering in flexible finery that symbolize shifting semblances. Crimson swells stark against scholastic sepias. Lighting layers longing. Lantern-lit lulls gilding gatherings. Umbras undulating in uncanny upsurges to evoke existential entanglement. Stasis in cries ruminative repositions relents to riotous rushes of rhythm. Beauty a bittersweet brew. Not bauble, but beacon. The counterpoint of chroma and crepuscule chiseling catharsis from chimera. The vista's verve. Sweeping shots of stumble stutter paralleling multiplicity's maelstrom. Proximate portraits pinning pupils in pantomime's pinch. Montages. Measured measures mirroring mimesis that magnifies malaise. Akin to Kurosawa's Seven Samurai gazes into the gulf. Configurations cradle cataclysms. Each vista a vault for the viscera's vaulting. The score summons as spectral summoner. Incipit's jaunty jangle gelling into jaunty japes. Orchestral orbs surging like sepia specters. Bewitching blanks with balladry's balm. Apotheoses ascending in anthem assaults that abrade like artificial adversaries. Quietude quests quintessentially in quartered quarters. A refrain redolent over any route. Incising acoustic aftereffects akin to the intermissions in Gladiator's luminous lulls. Cu evoke entities from the ether. Ono's cry quavers with querulous quirk. Timbre a taut thread threading toil and triumph, incarnating his inner insurrection. Kubota's Tino graphs gruff guffaws with guarded grief, fervor firing her febrile facade. The smart sister's Cu, a velvet vibrato laced with laryngeal ache, coils camaraderie with coy craving. Enunciations excavating the echoes, and the climax converges as canvas's cataclysm. A destiny's duet where pulses precipitate into packs, refracting the rhythm's raw reality. It summons eternal queries. In the portrait of our persistent pains, do we dissolve in the downbeat of doubt, or does the ordinary's fervor forge the heart's haphazard harmony? Feel that flicker, reader, comparable to the artist's agonies in Girl with a pearl earring's gilded gazes. Raw, relentless, rippling through ribs, the reverberations remain, a routine unrepeated through reverse reading, the contemplative cadences, pacing's patient palette, the opacity of unluck's origins, might murmur as muddle, intricacies ink rusting into incomprehensibles. Yet reframe. These are rhythmic radicals, thematic throbs echoing Tsukikij's textured tableaus, where veils of vulnerability invite the viewer's vigilant voyage. Cries quandaries a deliberate decrescendo to the dawn. Appreciation arcs over critique, visceral virtuosity as vanguard, though a brisker brush to broader beats might bolster the beginners. Balanced, it's a breaker of brilliance. Frailties as fervent fortissimos. Episode 15 triumphs in its textured tableau, character crevices carved with compassionate care, narrative nuances navigating nebulae of nexus, an artistic assault that alchemizes Tsukikij's tale into tactile tumult. Weaknesses, whispered in the wings, fleeting phrase informs flux, occasional overload of ostinatos. It succeeds supremely, a spell of sketch and soul narrative notes nailed to the nexus. Yet ponder this, the promise that pricks like a pencil's point poised. What if the portrait you postpone is the one that portrays your purpose? Watching isn't whim, it's the stroke through your sketchbook, the descent into the daily where your dormant designs demand their due. Dip the brush. The ordinary awaits your outline.